This is a crochet tutorial for our third beginner's sock project using the Cupid pattern by Anna Nukapirowicz and using the signature 4-ply sock yarn by West Yorkshire Spinners. This is part 2 of the 2-part crochet tutorial. I would refer you to the first video, which is included in the description. All the crochet terms used in this tutorial are in UK terms. In the first video, we covered the following: how to make the toe section, the main foot section, a gap for the heel, and the main leg section. For the second video, we are going to cover finishing the leg section, making the cuff, and then to end our socks, we are going to make also the heel. So from the first video, we were starting to make the leg section, wherein we alternate double crochet and a front post half treble crochet around. So we stick to this pattern essentially. So the first stitch would always be the double crochet followed by a front post half treble crochet. Once we make several rows of this and we reach a measurement of 9.5 centimeters from the heel separation, so here I'm going to measure parallel to the pattern here. We are going to start increasing the leg section. So first off, we slip stitch, chain 1, work 3 double crochet stitches into this same space. In the next stitch, we do a front post half treble crochet, followed by double crochet in the following stitch, and then another front post half treble crochet. So again, we go back to the alternating pattern of double crochet and front post half treble crochet. So this is the last front post half treble crochet for the same row, and then find the first stitch of the row and then slip stitch. In the next round, again we do a chain 1, work double crochet in the first stitch, and then a front post half treble crochet in the next stitch, followed by a double crochet, followed by a front post half treble crochet. So as you can see, we simply revert back to our main pattern of alternating double crochet and the front post half treble crochet. So these 2 rounds, we alternate an increasing round and a main round. So we end up with 6 rows at the end of the leg section. So again, we do an increasing round after slip stitching, chain 1, and then work 3 double crochet in the first stitch. Followed by a front post half treble crochet, and then double crochet, and then continue alternating these 2 stitches. So we end up with an additional 6 rows at the end of the leg section. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make the cuff. So first off, we need to chain 8 and try to do this as loosely as you can. If you want to, you can use a bigger crochet hook size. And then work double crochet from the second chain from the hook. And you will end up with 7 double crochet stitches on the way back to the leg section of our sock. So after you make your 7 double crochet stitches, we're going to skip the following stitches. The one at the bottom of this section, the next stitch you're going to skip as well, and then you're going to slip stitch in the next stitch. Turn your work around, chain 1, and we are going to work at the back loops only. Work double crochet stitches in every stitch. So this is going to be 7 double crochet only at the back loops. So this is what we're going to do from here on. We're going to be working double crochet stitches at the back loops of the previous round. So after making your 7 double crochet at the back loops, you're going to chain 1, turn your work, and work double crochet at the back loops of every stitch. To make it easier, I don't turn my work yet. I do my chain 1 and I work my first double crochet stitch into the first stitch, and then I turn my work. It's easier for me to identify where the back loop of the first stitch is when I don't turn my work initially. Okay, so for this row, you're going to end up with 7 double crochet at the back loops of the previous round. And then we're going to slip stitch at the base of the leg section. So we're going to skip the stitch at the bottom, the next stitch, and we're going to slip stitch in the following. And then continue on similarly with the pattern. So we cover the entire top section of the leg, and then now we're going to connect the first row and the last row of our cuff. You can chain 1 if you want to. Insert your hook at the first stitch of the first row and the back loop of the first stitch of the last row, and then slip stitch. Again, insert your hook in the next stitch of the first row and at the back loop of the next stitch of the last row, and then slip stitch. So we continue doing this. We end up with 7 slip stitches to connect the first row and the last row of our cuff. So here's our last stitch. So after you make 7 slip stitches, you're going to fasten off, and then you could either use your crochet hook or a yarn needle to hide and secure the loose end of your yarn. So now we have made the cuff of our sock. Next, we are going to make our heel. You're going to insert your hook in the first space that you find right here, and then you're going to join your yarn, chain 1, and then work 2 double crochet in that space. Notice I use the word space and not stitch. Okay, so find the first space you can find in that corner. And then in the following stitches, just work double crochet around. So just 1 double crochet in every stitch until you get to the end of this section. So when you get to the other corner, look for the last space. See, not stitch. You need to look for the last space. So here's the last space. Work 2 double crochet in that space. The reason why I'm saying this is because I don't want a gap when I finish my socks. Now in the last stitch, insert a red stitch marker. In the next space that you find, you're going to turn your sock around a bit and then work 2 double crochet in the next space, and then double crochet around again, so just single stitches around. When you get to the last space, you're going to work 2 double crochet in that last space. So here I find my last space, and then on that last stitch insert a green stitch marker. So we are going to work in the round completing the heel. In the next round we're going to decrease, so it is DC2 together. So insert your hook in the first stitch and then in the second stitch as well, and then finish off the DC2 together. Work double crochet in every stitch around until you encounter 2 stitches before the next stitch marker. So this is the decrease round. When you get to 2 stitches before the stitch marker, you're going to work another DC2 together. In that space with the stitch marker, you're going to work double crochet stitch, just a simple DC. Put back the stitch marker. So this is the red stitch marker. In the next 2 stitches, do a DC2 together. And then work double crochet in every stitch until you encounter 2 stitches before the next stitch marker. So when you get to that part, you're going to work a DC2 together in the final 2 stitches. So DC2 together in these 2 stitches before the green stitch marker, and then the stitch on that stitch marker, work a double crochet, and then return the green stitch marker. The next round you're going to be working double crochet around, so this is going to be a regular round. No decrease, just a simple double crochet in every stitch around. So what's going to happen is you're going to alternate between a decrease round and a regular round until you reach a certain number of stitches at the end of this. For example, if you're making a medium sock, you should end up with 20 stitches. But sometimes you don't have to stick to this rule, because if you just look and check the heel, sometimes you can actually stop beforehand. To finish this off, we're going to slip stitch into the first stitch of the round, and then with a loose yarn, so leave enough yarn so you can finish this off, flip your sock to the wrong side of the socks and make sure that you're lining up the toe, the leg section, and the heel so that when we're finishing off the heel, the stitching is correct, so it's all lined up. So take your time to make sure that everything is lined up. And then get your yarn needle and then stitch together the gap. So personally, I prefer to do this twice. So going forwards and then going the other way. And then securing the yarn by weaving it a little bit and then cut off any loose ends. And there you have it, our third sock. The right sock is similar to the left sock. Just follow along with the pattern. Alright, see you in the next video.